We in this beach.
Coming at you live.
What's the rules with the language?
The first rule of Fight Club is
Know the rules.
second rule of Fight Club is
You gotta know the players.
third rule of Fight Club.
You know something? You really just gotta know the rules.
Fourth rule.
You still gotta dribble, my man.
Fifth rule.
You can look as goofy as you want.
Sixth rule. No shirts, no shoes. Seventh rule.
Justice will always be served, folks.
And the eighth and final rule.
And you gotta know the rules.
You gotta know the rules.
You gotta know the rules.
I think that's factually incorrect. Because last year it was just consistently
kind of short. I guess I can't really say short. Medium height, blonde hair, was in pigtail. Almost at the ceiling.
Wait, so if you just jack the shit out of one up to left field and hit it above the line, it's just gonna be an out.
Yeah, this was like 3/4 of the way to the ceiling.
God, that's so dumb.
Closer to the ceiling than it was.
Yeah, it sounds like these guys should be on the podcast.
He's like doing his
Except
all like
it's
game
baseball.
Josh, you
no one can hear you.
Yo, what's that, Josh? Speak up.
Yeah, Josh, can you hear you?
Can you hear me now? Any better?
Yeah, actually, it was a lot better.
Actually, it was.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it the microphone? Do I just gotta
Really?
hold it like this?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
annoying though.
Who would have guessed, right? Josh is gonna open up like, "Welcome back to No Rules Podcast. I'm gonna fuck up for the next few minutes, and then we'll get started."
All right, welcome to another episode of the Know the Rules podcast. It is March 13th, day after Selection Sunday. How's everyone doing?
Hey.
Hi, Schwab.
What's that? Good stuff.
Special guest appearance for us this week. He's a man of many nicknames. Some call him Corey Guns, others call him Sammy, but he's also better known as Miles' little brother. We got Corey McDonough on the show today. How's it going?
Doing pretty good, Josh.
All right. Fellas, Selection Sunday was last night, so naturally we're going to start with college basketball. I can agree with that. The committee got it right. I don't think anyone has a really big problem with who was left out, including Syracuse. Miles, let me have you start off. Let's talk about the 1 seeds to begin with. Do you have a problem with who they put at the number 1 spot?
I completely agree with everything. Definitely think that Villanova should be the number 1 overall seed. Defending champions, won the Big East regular season and tournament. That's fair play. The Big East was a lot better than I thought it would be this year with the likes of, if you're looking at it, Marquette gets in, Seton Hall gets in, a lot of fringe teams, and they were all well above the bubble. These teams didn't come in as 11 seeds. We're talking 10s and 7s. So Villanova won a pretty competitive league. Kansas deserved to be in, winning the Big 12 again, and that's a team that you don't want to play with guards like Frank Mason and Devonta Graham. Carolina, there's plenty of debate whether Duke or Carolina deserves this. Carolina's been a more consistent team, so it's hard to argue there. And Gonzaga, their record speaks for itself. So I think they did a pretty good job here.
All right, Scott, do you agree?
Yeah, for the number 1 seeds, I actually do. Gonzaga, a lot of people have a problem with that. I don't, considering their record. Like Miles said, Duke was pretty inconsistent throughout the year, so definitely do not think they deserve the number 1 seed despite what Jay Billis and Jason Williams, their stupid Duke ignorance, have to say. Duke should be a 2 seed, and we'll see how they do. I don't have them going too far, but as for the 1 seeds, I really have no problems.
All right, so clearly no one's got a problem with the top of the bracket. Shift the conversation a little bit over to the 2 seeds. Did anyone get put up too high? It's going to be given a little too much of an easy route to later rounds. Did the committee get the top 8 seeds right?
I think this is where it goes. It starts getting a little questionable. Louisville is the most questionable number 2 seed. I don't think you can argue with Kentucky winning the SEC season and tournament. And Arizona only had 4 losses, won the Pac-12 tournament, and tied for first in the Pac-12 regular season with Oregon. Duke is Duke, in my opinion, by far the top 1 seed, which brings the issue of how does the number 1 overall seed, Villanova, end up with the number 1 overall 2 seed, Duke, in the same bracket. The math just doesn't add up. I don't know what they did there.
I think the biggest problem was that Duke kind of surprised everyone in the ACC championship. They were probably pegged to be a 3 or a 4, so it kind of put the committee in a little bit of a bind. I think they ended up with the 7th overall seeding position, which
is horrible.
I don't think it's right. Yeah.
Within 72 hours, Duke just beat North Carolina, a 1 seed, Louisville, a 2 seed, and Notre Dame in the final, a 5 seed. Notre Dame, that was an awful seeding as well. Notre Dame should be a 3 or a 4, in my opinion. Was in the top 25 all year, beat plenty of good teams in the ACC, and was 3rd overall in the ACC tournament. Unbelievable.
Miles, are you trying to say that Duke has the most resistance to get to the Final Four? That their bracket?
No, honestly, I feel for Villanova because as a number 1 overall seed, this could potentially be their path if they play the high teams every time. Wisconsin, who has no business being 8 seed, that should be more like a 5 or 6. Then they play Florida, who came in 2nd in the SEC, and then they can play Duke. I mean, as a number 1 overall seed, that is a brutal path to the Final Four.
I don't think being second in the SEC really has much to say about that. Florida, I don't have them going very far. I might even have them losing in the first round here to Eastern Tennessee State. We'll definitely have Virginia advancing over that. But, Duke, since Villanova's the number 1 overall seed, wouldn't Duke be technically the 8th seed?
No, like Josh said, they were valued at the 7th best team in the country. It also, as a lot of people have been debating, why does the community feel the need not to just pick 1, 8, and then 9 would be the top 3 seed and put them all in the same region? And the committee has this weird way of trying to also place teams regionally to match their seeding, which is just complete bullshit. Nowadays, NCAA is paying for all this. Send a man on a plane to Spokane, Washington, or Charleston, Southern Carolina. It doesn't make a difference. They can go wherever you need to. We got planes. This is a modern society. Who cares how the teams fit in regionally? Put them where there should be.
And that's where it comes into play that the NCAA is paying for all this. And, well, they don't want to pay for trips all the way across the country.
Yeah, there's that. But all right, so let's keep the conversation going. Where did the committee get it wrong? What schools here got screwed and misseeded very badly that's going to really hurt some other teams down the road?
Probably Wichita out of 10. I think Dayton's kind of screwed. They're a decent team, but they don't deserve to play Wichita as a 10.
Do you think that Wichita being a 10 now poses a real threat to Kentucky in the second game of the weekend?
Not really, no. I think Kentucky's doing well enough right now. They shouldn't struggle with Wichita.
So what are you saying Wichita should be seeded?
Probably closer to a 7, 8.
I guess we'll see with Dayton.
Okay.
I'm not so sure Dayton will make it past that.
Wichita, in many opinions, is a top 20 team. They 30-4 record. To be as low as a 10 seed is brutal. And when I'm looking at this bracket, it does make me a little nervous with Kentucky because Wichita's a good team. That's one of the, mid-major teams who can always make a splash. And it's making me lean with UCLA over Kentucky in the Sweet 16 just because I think UCLA is a surefire bet to reach it. Kentucky's got a more difficult game in front of them.
I couldn't agree with that more. I mean, UCLA is one of the top. I think they're one of the top teams in the country. Maybe they didn't deserve that 2 seed. I don't care. That talent is amazing. They got that Lonzo Ball. They got the coach's son over there. I forget his name, but he's the all-time leading three-point shooter in UCLA history, and that's a storied program. UCLA is stacked this year. I got them going pretty far. Probably my Final Four. They might even be winning this whole thing.
Corey, do you agree with that?
I don't see it. I don't think I had them winning that region out of any of my 4 brackets. I think it's tough for anybody to beat UNC at this point, especially just in that region.
I agree. UNC's got to be the heavy favorite in any bracket I fill out. I'm having Carolina come out through the bottom with the leadership they have between Joel Berry and Nate Britt in the backcourt. They had the ACC Player of the Year, Justin Jackson, on the wing. And some of the bigs they can throw out there on the floor is unbelievable. Between Isaiah Hicks, Kennedy Meeks, they got this freshman Bradley coming off the bench. He's a stud.
I might be worried about Butler just for the simple fact that it's Butler and they're known to make runs in March Madness.
When Brad Stevens was the coach.
I'm still worried about them.
I don't know. It looks like North Carolina has a pretty easy run at it through the Elite Eight, and then the game to get to the Final Four will be really tough, but it definitely looks like they can easily get there.
How amazing would that Elite Eight matchup be of Carolina against Kentucky or UCLA? That is as marquee as it gets.
Give the people what they want.
Yeah, that could potentially be better than some Final Four matchups, depending on the way things shake out.
I agree. I mean, that is just high-powered, beautiful programs.
Hey, Scott, what about the seedings of the Big Ten in the tournament? A little strange, no? Just the way the teams were replaced. I would say Wisconsin being, an 8 seed? Maryland being a 6. Do you think Maryland's a bit high at the 6?
Going into, I guess I would say a tiny bit high because I actually thought they were going to be a 7 seed. So, I mean, Maryland's got firepower. They got Melo Trimble, one of the better players in this tournament, maybe even top 10, top 15 players in this tournament. So he could carry them. But, yeah, I think Wisconsin at an 8 seed, that is pretty heinous there, NCAA. Maybe they should be a 6, maybe even a 5. Just put them in place of Minnesota there. Switch them. Minnesota should be an 8. No way Minnesota deserves to be a 5 seed.
I completely agree with you. Wisconsin, as I already mentioned, as a number 1 seed to have to play Wisconsin in the second game, that is no favors. Wisconsin came in second in the Big Ten and then lost in the Big Ten championship. That's not a bad team. They're struggling a little offensively, but they have 3 superstar players, Ethan Happ, Bronson Koenig, and our favorite, Nigel Hayes. That man can play. Sammy, you got anything to add to this?
No, I'm not really touching the Big Ten. I don't see any of them getting to the Elite Eight.
Do you have any surprise teams to look out for? Who do you think might make a run of a couple games?
The best I had was kind of a twofer there. I had Michigan to the Elite Eight, but I'm losing to, I believe, Kansas in that. Also had Iowa State in the Final Four out of that region. I see it being a whole bracket buster.
A lot of people are leaning towards the West as the bracket buster. What do you think down there?
Probably a little of both, to be honest. Florida State doesn't do well when they're not in Florida. They're kind of collapsing.
Well, if you knew anything, you would know that Florida State's actually playing in Orlando, Florida, so there's that.
Yeah, I mean, they might just limp through Florida Gulf Coast, but I don't see them getting through Arizona eventually.
Or Maryland, for that matter.
Yeah, I'm not worried about Maryland.
Maryland's got to get through Xavier first.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm certainly not worried about that.
Scott, you forgot the facts that Xavier is an actual favorite as the 11th seed against Maryland. Speaks volumes of your Terps.
Speaks volumes that you don't even know that Xavier's losing. They have been missing their best player throughout the year. That's something, whatever his name is.
They're still favored.
Ain't worried about a thing. Maryland's been an underdog all year until this later part of the year, and that's when they started losing. I like the underdog role for the Terps.
How far are you going to have them going, Scott?
I cannot have them beating Florida State. Florida State is too athletic, too tall, and too good.
True. Okay, let's start talking about the Pac-12. Been a hot topic all season. Pac-12 finally seems like they've actually showed up and have a couple teams in there that seem like they can actually make a run at the Final Four. So between Arizona, Oregon, and UCLA, do you guys see any of these teams making a serious run? I mean, Oregon took a tough loss with their center going out with the torn ACL, so that may hinder them, but they are a 3 seed. But yeah, Miles, do you see any of these teams in the Pac-12 having a decent chance at a Final Four berth?
Oregon's been a team I was very high on all year with, as you mentioned, Chris Boucher averaging 2.5 blocks a game, also shooting threes. They also had one of the Pac-12 first-team all-defenders in Jordan Bell. So those two down low was a potent combination. And also having Dylan Brooks, the killer on the wing. That was a great-looking team. Now, they can still do damage. I think they have a very favorable draw here with Creighton as the 6th seed. And I think Michigan and Louisville is going to be an absolute battle in round 2. So I could still see Oregon getting to the Elite Eight with a showdown against Kansas. I'm not feeling UCLA, but the one team I have in the Final Four this year is Arizona.
Arizona coming off a somewhat surprising Pac-12 championship run. They were fortunate enough that Oregon lost one of their key players, but impressed to say the least. All right, so that's going to do it for the tournament conversation. Keep a lookout for the Know the Rules bracket challenge. That should be up on Facebook, so send your email.
Post on the Facebook page or email knowtherulespodcast@gmail.com.
Do Do you guys know what the buy-in on that is?
20.
All right, yeah, so keep an eye out for that. Let's move it over to a little Champions League action. We had one of the more impressive comebacks that we've seen this year. Barcelona with a 6-1 win at Camp Nou with a historic comeback against PSG. They needed to absolutely win this game by 5 goals in order to move on due to the aggregate. So, Miles, you want to give a little background on how the aggregate system works and how Barcelona was able to pull this comeback off?
It's a beautiful thing. I finally convinced them to let me talk about soccer, and there's no better time. The biggest tournament outside the World Cup, UEFA Champions League. Barcelona loses 4-0 at the Parc des Princes to PSG, and this has never been overcome in Champions League history from leg 1 to leg 2. You knew going back to Spain, Barcelona was going to put up a fight. I mean, you got Messi, Suarez, and Neymar for crying out loud. What else could you ask for? But Cavani scores PSG's vital away goal, and Barcelona didn't have an away goal, so now Barcelona has to outright win the match. It's unbelievable. Barcelona scores in the 89th, 91st, and 95th, yet it's a storytell ending. Was all over the world news. Unbelievable finish for those guys.
I thought it was pretty funny and pretty sad the way Paris Saint-Germain's fans reacted to this game. PSG got home to Paris. Their cars were vandalized. PSG fans are also starting a petition that has reached over 100,000 signatures to replay this game. Sorry, folks, that's not how it works. You cannot replay a game just based off of petitions. Pretty sad from PSG fans.
Personally had some money on this game. I did a little parlay with Dortmund and Barcelona both having clean sheets. As amazing as the victory was, Barcelona did not keep a clean sheet.
Speaking of Dortmund, we had them come back. They were down 1-0 on the aggregate, came back with a 4-0 victory over Benfica. 18-year-old American superstar Christian Pulisic with a very impressive chip goal. So keep on the lookout for this youngster in the World Cup next summer. He is a young rising superstar and probably the best U.S. prospect in U.S. soccer history so far.
I mean, this should be the model for U.S. soccer moving forward. The kids that Europe can get their roots in early and come up through the academies overseas. I mean, this kid, he's the youngest player ever to score in the Champions League. America hasn't had a prospect like this ever.
All right, that's going to do it for Champions League talk. Let's talk a little bit of golf. We got 1 month, less than a month actually, until we tee it up at Augusta. The Masters is that close. People are waiting for it. Latest news on Tiger. We like to talk about Tiger quite a bit on this podcast. Got the Arnold Palmer Classic this weekend. Tiger was withdrawn from yet another tournament. Not a very good sign. But let's focus on some of the real players here and some of the guys who are really going to look to take home that green jacket. Dustin Johnson is your new world number 1. He's won each of the last tournaments he's played in, including his first tournament as a world number 1 player. Corey, you got anything on your boy Dustin Johnson or some of the main players you expect be in contention on Sunday when it comes to the Masters?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm putting any money down, I don't actually touch DJ. I'm kind of going more towards the sleeper angle. I don't know that Matsuyama is much of a sleeper at 20-1, but he's been having a great start to the year. Looking further down, I got Matt Kuchar and Webb Simpson. Not the common picks there, but it's hard to pick a Masters champion when you get guys like Willett winning it last year.
Yeah,
Wait, so you would actually pick an Asian to win the Masters?
I think I would. He's not your everyday Asian there.
All right, well, how do you expect Beef to bounce back this year after being in the lead most of the day Sunday and then having an epic meltdown?
I could see him in the top 10, but I don't see him within, at the end of the day, 2 shots to the lead.
Fair enough. John, let's hear your opinion on this matter.
Yeah, just looking at sort of the guys with the best odds here. Dusty, I mean, he could absolutely do it. He's phenomenal. He's world's number 1. He went out there and just won this past week. Jordan Spieth, you never know. He could bounce back. Really hard to say. I would not put my money on Rory McIlroy. Definitely wouldn't do that. I've seen him melt down in the Masters. Can't trust that guy on the back 9 on Masters Sunday. Not a chance. But the sleeper pick here, everyone's missing it as usual, is the hefty lefty, Phil Mickelson. He's coming back for yet another green jacket. He wants to taste the victory again.
John, I got a little fun fact for you that Phil actually hasn't won since 2013, and that Tiger Woods has actually won more recently than Phil Mickelson. Can you believe that?
I can't believe that. Yeah, Phil Mickelson. You haven't heard Mickelson's name up at the top of the leaderboard as much recently. He went through a stretch of years there where he was just absolutely dominant. But I think he'll get it back. He had a really good week last week, was in contention there, which is always a good sign coming into the Masters.
If I'm going to go with a sleeper pick, I'm going to go with a guy who's been hot all 2017 with Justin Thomas. He's been playing out of his mind. He's been in contention a majority of the tournaments, but he has not won on U.S. soil yet this year. That's kind of interesting. But I'd be on the lookout for him. He seemed like he's finally breaking out, has a decent shot at the Masters this year. But, I still lean on guys like Jordan Spieth. He's one of the best putters in the game, and I think that if he gets hot on the greens, I think he's going to be tough to beat.
Well, personally, I'm going to have to ride with Dustin Johnson here. I've been going with him, since first episode with Know the Rules podcast. So I'm going to have to go with Dusty. He's been on fire recently. World's #1. I don't think he can be stopped. Telling you, kid's got the nicest driver on the tour. Dude is amazing. I'm riding with Dustin Johnson. He'll be putting on the green jacket come Sunday.
Dustin's always putting himself in the conversation now because he's become a lot better with the short game. His drive's always been there, and now he's just hitting wedges to greens. But is that really what's going to work at Augusta, Corey? Does the best driver always win?
Best driver goes a long way. Obviously, you need other kinds of shot making, like putters in the short game at Augusta, and you're going to need that with the greens running as fast as they do there and as tough as they are.
Exactly. Can Dustin hang in on the greens? He's not the best putter on tour.
No, but I mean, if he's hitting 350-yard drives, he's got pretty doable approach shots, and even if he misses one, he's just in the fringe. And I like his chances from there.
Yeah, dude, Dusty is a bomber. He's just bombing it down the fairway all day long, pitching wedges into greens. You don't even have to be good at putting at that point.
Need I say it again? Paulina digs the long ball. That's all that needs to be said.
And everyone this year has forgot about Jason Day. Where is that man?
Nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, I mean, it's been interesting ever since you thought he got over the hump after a good 2015 where he finally got a major by winning the Open Championship, and very disappointing 2016 for Jason Day. Let's hope to see him again in 2017 on the top of the leaderboard at some point. Let's move on to a little NFL action. Free agency finally kicked off this last week, and the first 2 days were absolutely ridiculous. I don't want to start with the Patriots just yet, but I think one of the biggest deals made to start free agency was the Texans just absolutely abandoning Brock Osweiler and that $30-some-odd million they guaranteed to him. They give up Osweiler and their second-round pick. That's how desperate this team was to get rid of this player. Over to the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns said, thank you, we'll take your second-round pick. They got over $100 million in cap space. I think they can eat that money. I don't even think they have plans to hold on to him. John, what are your thoughts on the Texans just absolutely abandoning Brock Osweiler? Do you think Tony Romo's in play in Houston, or do you think they're going to go try to find a player through the draft? Or maybe look to Jimmy Garoppolo?
I think Tony Romo is going to go to Denver, so I'm not really buying that. But I actually heard that the Browns, I guess there's a minimum that you have to pay your players in the NFL to be, quote-unquote competitive, but, it's an actual rule. And that the Browns were legitimately short of that number, so they needed a big contract like this one from Osweiler to keep them afloat there. Did you guys hear that at all?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called science. That's why they're the Browns and probably America's football team, so might be taking the Browns to the Super Bowl. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was a thing. But the bigger story here is obviously Brandon Marshall going to the Giants. I can't believe you didn't lead off with that. The Giants are back. They're Super Bowl contenders once again. The NFC better be on watch next year. They're coming for you, Aaron Rodgers. Absolutely.
As crazy as John may sound right there, I do agree to him to some degree. If Sterling Shepard doesn't have a career year with how much defense is going to have to go in double coverage against both Odell and Brandon Marshall, he should be open a lot and they can open up the run game. Defense was clearly very good last year, so if they're shoring up their offense, I think they still need help on the O-line, but this certainly helps them. John, what are your feelings on these two egos? Do you think B. Marsh and Odell can coexist on the same team?
Yeah, you could call them egomaniacs, whatever you want. I think that they're both bigger freak athletes than they are egomaniacs. I think they're going to work really well together. It's going to be an absolute nightmare for defenses. I certainly wouldn't want to play against those two, especially knowing about Sterling Shepard at all times. Not good for the other defenses.
John, what about when Eli Manning is under pressure every single play because the offensive line sucks and he just starts throwing up ducks?
Wow. So there's still many moves to be left in this offseason. We're only getting started. Brandon Marshall was a huge first signing. But if you're going to be chucking it up to two guys, Brandon Marshall and Odell Beckham aren't a bad two guys to be chucking it up to.
They just need someone who's better at throwing the ball.
I disagree. I think Eli Manning's proven himself. Two-time Super Bowl champion. He knows how to get there. He can get there again.
All right, so naturally, if John brings up Eli's 2 Super Bowl wins against the Patriots, we got to move on right over to the Patriots. And I can't believe the amount of moves these guys have been making. I mean, they do have the 5th most cap space, I think, in the league, coming off a Super Bowl championship. Pretty unprecedented. And they've been adding talent like you thought they lost the Super Bowl by 100. I mean, they're already the odds-on favorite and by far best team in the NFL coming into the offseason. And now they're just that much better than the competition. Huge move on Friday when everyone was about to go out, get ready, drinking and everything, watch college basketball. The Patriots just keep making moves. Brandon Cooks, come on over. We'll give you our first-round pick. Patriots now don't have a first or a second, but we got a great deep threat now, and we didn't even need receivers. That's not to mention that they didn't go out and get Stephen Gilmore. So now the Patriots have potentially the best secondary in the league between Malcolm Butler, who they did give a first-round tender to. He's not very happy with the Gilmore signing because the Patriots did give him so much money. But nonetheless, he's still on the team. And then you got Devin McCourty. Deron Harmon was re-signed. Alan Branch, another big signing, keeping him on the D-line. And then just tight end insurance for Gronk. We got Dwayne Allen, who's a good blocker. Decent replacement for Martellus Bennett. Also got a DN, Coney Ealy. Big signing. I think the ceiling is the roof for this team. I mean, I don't see who's going to beat them this year.
Yeah, I'm a little interested to see how the Stephen Gilmore signing plays out. I think they overpaid him a little bit. His production's dipped a little bit this past year, but I think that was also a product of the dysfunction of the Bills' defense as a whole. So it'll be interesting to see how him and Malcolm Butler work together. I think we should have a pretty solid secondary, especially bringing back Deron Harmon again, and obviously we still have McCourty around. So if Butler stays tight and doesn't go anywhere, it should be an interesting year on our defense.
The only downfall of this free agency is they should have backed the Brinks truck up to Dante Hightower's locker, because now he's meeting with the Jets and the Steelers and all these other AFC rivals. We want Hightower on our team. He's the one who makes big plays. He's the captain of the defense. He's calling the shots. Why are you not opening up the checkbook for Dante Hightower?
The way I look at it, though, is he didn't really get a lot of interest in the early days of free agency after being pretty much tabbed by the majority of analysts as one of the top free agents. And some people have looked at it and think that he's maybe a little bit more of the Belichick system player. He's obviously a very good linebacker, but he's not that freak athlete that can go out and do anything you want. He's just perfect for what Belichick needs him to do. So seeing him test free agency and not get a giant contract right off the bat, I think kind of bodes in favor of the Pats. They might get him for the price that they want him since no one else wants to pay him big bucks. So I'm not too upset about this move so far.
Yeah, I mean, I'm somewhat surprised that he hasn't gotten a big contract yet. I think the Patriots offered him somewhere around $10 million. But we saw it in the past before he was like that middle linebacker when Gerard Mayo was still there. He had a tough time going back into coverage. He's not a good coverage guy, but he's great against the run. But he also does have durability issues. He has missed quite a few games. So I think the Patriots have kind of taken that into consideration. Probably why he's not getting as much money as he possibly could. Because, I mean, the way they look at it, the best ability is availability. If you're not always there, they're not going to pay you like you are.
Hey, Scott, you think they're done yet?
I haven't been listening for the past 5. I don't know.
What's happening in DC?
All right, yeah. So as we mentioned, that Redskins lost their top 2 receivers first day of free agency, but they do have Kirk Cousins as of now. He did ask for a trade. I mean, you guys did sign Terrell Pryor. I think that's a great signing. Scott, what else are you looking for the Skins to do in the meantime?
I ain't worried about it. Redskins were prepared for this. We got Josh Doxson, our first-round pick from last year. We got Jamison Crowder. We got Vernon Davis. We got Jordan Reed. It'd be stupid to say their offense still isn't going to be very nice. So they've also beefed up defensive line as well, just getting depth there. We got signed 2 defensive linemen. To be honest, I couldn't really name them, but we got them as well. And then we stole Swearinger from the Arizona Cardinals. He was the starting safety for the Cardinals, so we got him for our safety as well. We moved Su'a Cravens back to safety, so that'll be a good tandem to have back there. But in the draft, this is one of the deepest drafts in NFL history in respect to cornerbacks. And the Redskins were struggling with Bashad Breeland last year, and we need a nickelback. So I'll be looking for the Skins with their 10 draft picks this year to be picking up some defensive linemen and some cornerbacks.
How sweet would it be if they traded Cousins and then went and signed RG3 again?
Can't say I wouldn't hate it. Just kidding. I would hate to have RG3 again. We don't need more drama than there already is in DC.
All right, fair enough. It looks like the NFC East has gotten even more competitive with the Eagles completely replenishing their receiving core. That was pretty disappointing last year. Nelson Aguilar has been pretty much a bust, first-round pick, and they go out and sign Alshon Jeffrey as well as Torrey Smith. So, John, thought you had a few comments on the Eagles and their signings. What do you got on them?
I really, really enjoy watching Alshon Jeffrey play. He was on my fantasy team last year, and now this man becomes an Eagle. Now I can't root for him anymore. Such a disappointing offseason move.
All right, so that's going to do it for NFL free agency. Still a lot of moves to be made. Jimmy Garoppolo could still be on the move. Tony Romo still needs to find a home. I think Denver is the most logical spot there. I think John Elway really wants to get him. And Dante Hightower, I think those, but first 2 days, I think most of the top free agents kind of found new homes or re-signed with their team. So not all that much more to look at for the rest of the offseason. See how the draft goes in another month or so. All right, so that's going to do it for the topics. Let's move right on to the segments. We're going to start off with a He Said What. So this week, and He Said What? We've got some guy who's managed to get a microphone in front of his face as often as possible the past couple weeks. LeVar Ball, father of Lonzo Ball, superstar point guard for the UCLA Bruins, and also he's got a couple other kids, LaMelo, and the other one is going to UCLA next year. He's been making all sorts of claims past couple weeks. One saying that Lonzo is better than Steph Curry. The UCLA is absolutely going to win the NCAA championship, but I think he's had his most outrageous statement this past week. Came out today that he just said in his heyday he would have beaten MJ one-on-one.
Like to realize, I used to average 35, he averaged 2. But I can beat you now, so what does that say?
So are you talking about Jordan? Because Jordan averaged 35 at the same time, you were averaging 2.
Oh, put it up, mama. But you only got the average from Washington State. They didn't get the ones when I played in JUCO, and then the other ones when I was averaging 20 and 13.
You said you could beat Jordan. Michael, not some other guy.
Let me tell you this. Let me tell you Jordan. Basketball is 5-on-5. One-on-one, I can't be beat. Michael Jordan would have been too slow and too weak to guard me one-on-one.
You want to tell me
this is you in your heyday
that you're going to take that man on?
I'll take that little man on. He's 6'6", 210. How big are you? In my heyday, I'm 6'6", 270. I will push him under the goal. He needs help to guard me. You can't guard me no one-on-one. You got to have a zone or something to help you. Because he's too little. Why do you think he couldn't get past Detroit? He'll start lifting weights. I've been lifting weights a long time. One-on-one, he going to have problems.
LeVar, 2.2.
I'm going to show you 2.2.
Come on.
You're missing a digit. But like I said, the 2.2 don't mean nothing. That'll fool you.
What is this guy talking about, guys? And I can't stand it anymore. This parent is pissing me off. Miles, what's your take on LeVar Ball?
I think LeVar Ball just needs to shut the fuck up for his own good. He's doing a great job growing his kids in the right setting, making them work on a 3-point shot when they get home from school, making them go to the weight room. But, dude, once they get to college and they're out on their own, Lonzo is entering the NBA draft this summer, no doubt about it. Let him do his own thing. He'll have an agent. Stop saying all this nonsense, which is damaging his reputation. There's no need for it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It also needs to be said that LeVar Ball played 1 year at Washington State and averaged 2 points. So I think Michael Jordan would have laughed in his face. Also, he comes out and says today that his sons need $1 billion shoe contract. That's right, $1 billion with a B. He said $100 million a year for 10 years. I don't know what this dude thinks he's doing. I mean, I can see NBA teams not being very happy with the amount of involvement he's clearly going to have with his son and his son's future, whether it's him acting as his agent or anything like that. So I'd be on the lookout for that and seeing what LeVar's presence and role is with Lonzo Ball moving forward. All right, let's move on. We got a little bit of girl talk this week. So I don't know if you guys knew this, but they actually do a tournament for women's basketball as well. I didn't know that. So the brackets just came out tonight, and UConn women are the number 1 seed. So look for them in the Final Four. And that's girl talk. All right, guys, let's start to wrap things up with what's on your mind. Scott, you want to start us off?
Yeah, I'll start us off. So we haven't talked too much about the NBA recently, but the Washington Wizards
just
are the
lost
best
tonight.
team in the NBA since January 6th. They have the best record in the NBA, not even the Eastern Conference, the whole NBA since January 6th. Look for the Wizards to make a run in the playoffs. That's what's on my mind.
All right, John?
Sticking on basketball, got some bad news. I'm a UConn basketball fan. UConn men's basketball not only misses the NCAA tournament this year, but they've also missed the NIT tournament this year. Bottom of the barrel. Terrible thing for such a great program. Very disappointing year for the Huskies. Preseason, top 20 in the country. Totally fell off the map. Hopefully they can rebound next year.
What? All right, Miles, you want to go?
This week, I'm touching on the news I've heard towards the end of last week, but a special shout out to mine and Corey's cousin, Aiden McDonough, for committing and taking his talents to Northeastern University to play Division I college hockey. Best of luck, my man. We're always rooting for you. I'll come see you play this coming winter. Do it up for us.
All right, and Corey?
Yeah, so actually I got a busy month ahead. I mean, just cruising through some midterms now, but then we're getting into the bulk of the PGA stuff. So you guys probably know a little bit about this. Got to pass a playing test. Got to show them I got some game. And then I got a written test on like rules, history, all that stuff. But, within a month from now, I should be on my way to registering as a PGA pro, and that's some big stuff there. So that's definitely on my mind.
Yeah, shout out Corey. Thanks for coming on today. Good luck on your PGA tour.
Don't catch the shanks,
PGA
boy.
test.
The Shanks.
This man's about to be a golf pro, so that's pretty sweet. Very jealous. Better than being an engineer, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Just ask John.
Because you suck, John.
Yeah, what's John about golf?
I don't have the shanks. That's what I was alluding to earlier. You always got to watch this guy Sammy out of the bunkers. Always likely to knife one over the green. Hold on to your hats, folks. Always keep an eye on Sammy.
Hey, Johnny, maybe if you're lucky, you can carry his clubs.
Yeah, just might extend the invite.
I'll finish things off with what's on your mind. Obviously, huge weekend. Not only do we have the NCAA tournament starting, we also have St. Patty's Day right on top of that. Everyone's coming into town. Scott pitched out, but John's a real friend. He's showing up. So shout out, John. Going to be plenty of boozing, plenty of basketball, plenty of gambling. It's going to be a great weekend. I can't wait.
Yay. Can't wait to go to Boston, folks. It's going to be a good weekend.
All right, now let's finish it up like we always do with our weekly pick'ems. We got a special NCAA tourney edition for you guys this week. So let's just go over everyone's record before we start. We got Miles still in the lead, 19-9 overall. I'm now alone in second place at 17-11. John had a tough week last week, now falls to 15-13 in third place. And Scott, did you go 0-4 last week, dude? That was rough.
That's what happens when John Nolan takes the same picks as you.
Scott, what were you saying about the ceiling being the floor the other week?
You're in the basement, John, just like the Devils.
Well, Scott's in last, so it's good enough for me.
All right, so let's get it started. We got our first game Thursday, Virginia Tech versus Wisconsin. Guys, I think I'm going to take Wisconsin this one. I think they were seated a little bit too low. I think they can take this matchup against Virginia Tech. Miles?
Agreed. Wisconsin should be better than an 8 seed. And I like Virginia Tech, but Wisconsin's just a better team.
Scott?
Going with the Badgers.
And John?
I'm going with Virginia Tech. Wisconsin struggled at the end of the year. I think they're susceptible.
All right, next matchup, we got the West Region with Florida Gulf Coast, Dunk City, taking on in-state, not even a rival, but in-state rival, we'll call it Florida State, 3 seed. As much as I want to see Dunk City take this one and advance in the tournament again, I don't think it's not the same Dunk City this year, so I'm gonna stick with Florida State. Scott?
Yeah, Josh, I think we are going to see Dunk City pull away with this one. Florida State's going to win it. They're going to be dunking all over Florida Gulf Coast. Like I've been saying all year, second to tallest team in the country. They're going to be dunking all over Dunk City. Seminoles got this one easy.
Miles?
I don't see it being easy, Scott, but I agree. Florida State's just a better team. Hails from the greatest conference out there. The ACC is well represented. Florida State's going to do justice.
And John?
Yeah, I'm taking Florida State as well.
Okay, on to the Midwest region. We got a Friday afternoon game. Michigan State taking on Miami. Oof, tough matchup, but I think I'll take Michigan State in this one. John?
I'm going with Miami. Gotta disagree.
Miles?
I think Miami as well. Michigan State is fortunate to even be in the field, and Miami's a pretty good team. Beat some very serious ACC competition. Throw it up for the U.
All right, and Scott?
I'm going with Sparty here. Miles Bridges is going to take over that game.
Yeah, would really love to see Michigan State bounce back from that first round departure last year. Really screwed me over. All right, let's finish it off in the South region. Friday, we got quite the matchup here. Wichita State versus Dayton, 2 teams that were kind of expected to possibly do something in this tournament, kind of upset teams, but with shitty seeding, they're playing each other in the first round. So I think this one's a no-brainer. I think you got to take Wichita State. Miles?
I wanted to go with Dayton because Archie Miller is a genius on the bench. surefire to get an offer at a much bigger power conference. I agree with you. Wichita's for real. They've made noise in the past. They're going to make noise again this year. Shockers.
And Scott?
I'm going to have to go with the Shockers from Wichita State.
All right, John, finish it off.
I'll go with Wichita State as well.
Not that anyone cares.
All right, and that's going to do it for the podcast this week. As we mentioned earlier, if you want to join the bracket challenge with us, that'll be on the Facebook page. Add your email to a comment or send an email to, what was it?
Know the Rules Podcast at gmail.com. One word.
All right, that's going to do it. Corey, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, happy to be here.
All right, guys. See you next week.
Peace.
Let's go, Duke.
Jason Tatum. My money talk. Jason Tatum. I'm balling on you boys. I think I'm Jason Tatum. Watch me come through in that clutch. Jason Tatum. My swagger on another level. Robert jeans with the wings and a gold bezel. I'm Tatum with the wrist. I need a gold medal. I press the button on you, boy. My shooters gon' get you. Ballin' like LeBron, bash from a line. My pants don't match my kids, design a family, the squad.
Coach K is a rat and looks exactly like a rat and is a rat.
The audacity of you to let your dad chirp me is like unbelievable.
I think it was his idea, though, that's the thing. Miles texts my dad back, goes, I have no idea who this is. And my dad's asking me and John, what do I say? And we just go, type in, you your daddy's son. And he sent Waylon.
Steak and gravy. And I got credit just like the 80s.